Hello. Excuse me. Welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jin, and we are exploring the different psychological types of man. Have you ever noticed that people are different? Some people are awesome and rock. Some people stink and suck. Ever noticed the sorts of people that are attracted to traditions within side B of our mega analogy? Pathologos traditions, belief traditions, are not able to function as well themselves or towards others as those who are lovers of understanding, or who can follow the logos, who can think for themselves. So we've been putting together all of the key terms of the text in a mega analogy to understand the nature of human excellence and human ignorance. Because as we are learning from this wonderful dialogue with Socrates, that's our job. Our job to master the logos requires also mastering its negative expression, which is important because as we progress along the logos, as we learn to think, understand, apprehend the patterns and the principles of reality, use those patterns and principles to function in a good, just, caring way, to be able to meet our highest goals and ultimately our spiritual goals, to know the nature of our own mind or the divine, and know the nature of its source, the self, to know the self. The penultimate and ultimate spiritual experiences of self and reality. As we go along that journey, we are, as a principle, we face counterattacks. You can imagine a stock market curve. As the stocks goes up, there is a dip, but then it recovers and goes up if you stay in the game. Now, those dips can knock us out of the journey if we give up. Therefore, it's important to be developing the virtues, courage, keeping your cool in those dips, temperance, courage to keep going, the wisdom to understand, the knowledge of wisdom to understand the nature of that journey so we can anticipate those dips, and not only anticipate them, understand them, give them a name. That's just a counterattack. That's the pathologos expressing itself to block the logos, because that's what it does. With that kind of temperance, courage, and wisdom, we can function in our intended function with a unified soul, doing our business always, putting us into a flow state called justice. Those are the four virtues that Socrates has been talking about. So it's a principle. As we gain further insight or understanding or development, we face a counter attack from the pathologos, the dip. In fact, we recognize that there is a whole ox herding picture. Ox herding pictures describe the spiritual development of a soul within the tradition of Zen Buddhism. There's a whole ox herding picture dedicated to facing the counterattacks. Which also means for any art that you do, you have to recognize the psychological impact of that art, because you're a human being with a psyche. And whatever logos that you are seeking in that skill or art, whatever is the realm of whatever it is you're studying, you have to account for the psychological aspect of the shadow, or shadows. Let's not use the word shadows, it's misused a lot. But in principle, as you progress along the logos, so too, the further you progress, the more the likelihood you will face the negative or the unjust expression of that very thing. Ever notice this? Someone might be doing very well in their profession, but as they progress, they get to a stage where they start to use that profession in a negative way. Once they get a bit of power or they get comfortable. Ever notice this in relationships? After the honeymoon period, some people call it. You do very well and you're very excited and you want to show your best self and encourage that of your partner, but often there comes a time where everything you've been building up is expressed in a negative way. All that you have been learning about your partner and what they love, their goals, their dreams, their thoughts, what they care about the most, some people will use it in a negative way. So use that very logos that they've been developing in a harmful way. Here's another analogy. If you walk up to someone on the street and slap them in the back of the head, that's called assault. But if you befriend that person, develop a relationship with that person, and then once you are close friends, then slap them on the back of the head, that's not assault, that's just bullying. More acceptable, apparently. So, as a principle, the further we develop along the logos of any particular subject or skill or art, so too is there an increase in the likelihood of the negative expression of that very logos in a harmful or pathologos way. Isn't that interesting? So the more power and also the more money, let's say, the more money Elon Musk accrues in his lifetime, so too the likelihood. So you can say, you can make this axis time. Let's do it on the board. Because why not? So as we progress in this direction, so we can have, oh, thank you for follow on YouTube. I wasn't feeling creative. So over time or power, or maybe influence, you can add your own in here, increases, so too the likelihood likelihood of pathologos expression. So of logos of a skill, of a skill, profession, art, you name it. Or you could do a graph a different way and say, let's do it this way. Now keep that one, that's a nice one, but we'll do another one underneath. Principle of reality that we're discovering for everything. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that cool that we can do that? Because this book is a banger. So we can do a graph this way. And say as we could put a line. Oh, we've already got a line. Let's move it up. There we go. So we can have the logos up here and the patho logos down here. And we can make this axis time or skill or power, etc. So in time, as we increase our mastery of the logos of that art or skill of that art, this is any art, any subject, let's say, any subject, so as we increase our ability, then we have the capacity for this, or we increase the logos, we become better at an art and its application to benefit, but then we have a negative expression of that very art. And our relationships with someone, we develop a relationship and all of a sudden you get into a fight. And hopefully you can come out of it and keep on going and develop. The dip. But also, because of the other principle we've got up here, the likelihood of the pathologos expression, but also the extent of the pathologos expression, you would likely have bigger dips. To our goal. Interesting? So as you are going along in your relationship, you start to get comfortable with each other, and then all of a sudden, your pathologos sort of decides, well, I think we're at a stage where I can try that pattern that I like. Based on my image, my unsuspected, pathologos is unsuspected usually, unsuspected false image, belief, or idea about what it means to be loving from our parental figures growing up. I'm from a boisterous Italian family, and one way my parents expressed love was yelling insults at each other. So you're dating someone, get to a certain level of comfortability, all of a sudden you say, hey, you're a gabagool. What's the width of this? Or what's the width of this spaghetti? It's a garbage. And then, well, let's say your partner is from a different culture. They might not like that. Even worse, they're from a similar culture and they do like that. This is all relationships. This is a pattern for relationships. Become more abusive as they develop. To the point where, unless somebody is in a relationship defined by love and logos. They are doing their intended function, learning understanding, which is a mastery of both our excellence, logos, and our false beliefs that cause our problems. Unless you're doing that, guess who takes over? Pathologos. So what will end up happening is it'll start like this, and then that, then maybe there's a recovery, and then maybe there's a recovery, but then this is the goal. You get into a pattern of your pathologos. Why? Because people care about who they care about. People want the best for who they love. So your model of what's best for every human being is the pathologos. We all inherit a sickness. We all inherit a sickness. It's part of the game of being a human being. We inherit a pathologos from our family clan because that's what we're here for. That pathologos manifests as a false idea of self, or a negative or pathologos expression of the first hypothesis of Parmenides, the true self. An idea of beauty, love, strength, justice, or a negative or pathologos expression of the second hypothesis, the true state of mind and excellence, and a way of being, role, way of being, way of talking, way of being, a way of talking, a way of interpreting, a way of acting or role, or the negative pathologos expression of the third hypothesis. Our goal, we have just read from Socrates, is to move into the triad or threesome of the self, to know the self in a state of being or pure mind, reality, wisdom, and a functioning through the dialectic as the art we're here to master of understanding. The third, second, and first hypothesis, therefore, our purpose is to move from the negative or pathologos expression of self, mind, and functioning, which is the fourth hypothesis, belief, from the fourth to the third, understanding, because third allows the development of understanding, creating the conditions for insight into being. Also, you apply understanding to being to wonder about its cause, the self. Also, understanding can be used to reflect back on our pathologos and free ourselves from it. Why is that important? Because every goal a human being is doing, relationship goal, a creative goal, a skill goal, whatever it is they're doing, will end up here, whether we like it or not. How many societies are there in the world? How many of them are run by fascists? All of them? How many of them support a fascistic system of capitalism? All of them? How many of them tolerate the abuse of religion? Completely irrational, demands fourth hypothesis allegiance, rejects your own goals and understanding, always act in conflict with yourself, others, and especially non-believers of your tribe. All? Why is that? Why is there so much savage ignorance and blind loyalty to ignorance and very few Socrates-like people out there? Because necessarily, by virtue of being a human being, we get a pathologos, idea of the self, way of being, or model of beauty, justice, excellence from our family, and way of being or role within that family. Because that false image of self that manifests as that state of mind and in that functioning is what we are here to address. As we read from Socrates, if there is evolution and reincarnation, then we had the potential to reincarnate in a developmental way or in an anagogic way, an upward moving way, but there was something that prevented our further spiritual development into higher levels of being and reality. And we can understand what that is, because we can learn here. Let's take any goal. Let's say you want to be a vet. That's your goal. As you move towards you follow the steps towards that goal, you will face a block. That block is to do with your idea of yourself. Your goal is you being a vet. If you believe you are rubbish and useless and you can't understand anything, you can't simultaneously be that self who has that goal and also that self that can't. They are incompatible. The blocks that manifest are expressions of this negative, limited idea of self, fourth hypothesis, pathologos belief, as messages saying, hey, you want to be a vet? You got to drop this allegiance to you sucking, or to you hating animals, or a belief that no one will listen to you, or that you can only do harm. None of these beliefs that you carry about yourself is consistent with you being a vet. You have to drop one, drop the goal and this idea of self, or drop your current idea of self. Almost always we drop the goal, or lessen the goal, or mitigate the goal, or accept a secondary goal, or maybe reach the goal and then lose it. Because the art of surfacing our false beliefs that we all get is called philosophical midwifery, and unfortunately currently very few people are participating in it. The good news is we have the best companion and guru for this kind of removal of what causes our blocks. Not just blocks. Remember that self has an idea of justice and beauty. So the cause of our injustice, the cause of human savagery, ICE, genocide, capitalism, slavery, murder, torture, all of that shit that goes on every second of the day is nothing other than the false idea of reality tied to the false idea of self that we get from childhood by virtue of the fact that we get raised in a house with parental figures before we have developed the logos to ask questions properly. We take the blame. Therefore, we have the best guide for how to remove not just our blocks to our own development, but our false images of justice that causes our unjust functioning, human savagery, ignorance, and harm, because we all get dreams. Now, many people have different beliefs about what dreams are. A good thing we're not interested in beliefs, we're interested in understanding. If we apply everything we've been learning about understanding the dialectic to every one of our dreams, or any one of our dreams, we can see for ourselves through understanding and verified in our own direct experience that every single dream is a profound message about these two things: your highest goal and what you need to get there, and your blocks. Therefore, we can see that our dream maker is a master of the logos and pathologos, a master dialectician. So we can all do it. It's just a matter of letting everyone know.
Can I do my plugs now? I'm trying to do comedy career.
No plugs. Well, we need to plug the dialectic, which is understanding, thinking. And it's the art of the logos and pathologos. So while we can say, well, therefore the meaning of life is to surface our pathologos idea of self, that was the cause of our reincarnation into the physical dimension in the first place, we'd have to also conclude, therefore, the purpose of life is to master the dialectic, which is the activity of reason, the art of philosophy, true philosophy, because it's only through the dialectic you can do that job. And by the way, freed from your false idea of self, you are now free to pursue the truth about self, mind, and providential functioning too. So, a single art, a dialectic, two expressions, logos and pathologos. And the greatest activity, dream analysis, the greatest application for that as our purpose. Not as an opinion or a belief, definitionally. So what? So if this is a fundamental definition and principle about what it means to be human and our purpose here, we can see this is where most people end. Why? Because you care about the person you care about. You want the best. What's up, Captain Pickles? What's up?
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
And I say what's up too because I'm cool.
I'm too pure.
And too pure. So, we want the best or the highest idea of goodness for our loved one. We also want them to be most beautiful as well. Only, what did we just discover? We all carry a false pathologos, sick belief about the nature of justice, goodness, and beauty. Therefore, that illness or that family tradition sick belief about what it means to be good, just, beautiful, we spend our relationships trying to force on our partner. Now here's the rub. They also have a pathologos because they're also a human being, meaning we've understood the nature of all human relationship conflicts. It's nothing other than human beings being trapped in their NPC zombie-like illness, the pathologos, trying to enforce their idea of what it means to be loving, while our partner tries to enforce their own as well. Both are wrong, both are a sickness, but that's how it works. So what? Well, just as we talked about there being a threesome of the self that we are moving towards if our goal becomes up here, if we move our goal to up here at the top, so too every relationship must be a threesome relationship. Why? Because you carry in your pathologos down here, your bad goal. They have their own as well. You have your false belief about yourself. They have their false belief about yourself. Unsuspected. We think it's real. We take it for granted, keeping us trapped in our problems forever, even after death. We've just spent our life more entrenching ourselves in our false idea of ourselves, especially if you spent your life debating or defending your own ignorance, which is what people are told philosophy is. Hey, philosophy is just getting a bunch of words and clever debating tricks to prove the bullshit beliefs you already carry and defeat your opponent. Bollocks, that's not the dialectic. So that keeps us trapped not only in this lifetime, but in many lifetimes. But if you have a threesome in your relationship, you have you have your beloved, and you have a shared ideal. Which we are saying is that threesome of self. To know the self, first hypothesis of Parmenides. To know reality, or the true state, the highest state of mind or being. The paradigm of reality, wisdom, knowing, and to be able to function from self through intelligence providentially. Understanding, or the third hypothesis, the art of the dialectic, providence. Notice, these are all single terms. The self, the mind, and the dialectic. Notice the pathologos is many. Yeah, I have my idea of the self, you have yours. We're all different selves. There is no true self. We're all different. And that's just the way it is. Equally for mind. We all have our own different ways of being. Some people like to join ICE and murder people and kidnap people and shoot people in the face. Some people like to help people, like the people who are being murdered by ICE. Some people like to care for people and make the world a better place. But, you know, it's all a meaningless. There is no true standard. Who's to say what's right and wrong? Isn't it all relative to all our own opinions? Garbage. And also, false idea of self, false idea of mind and functioning. Our beliefs. Notice, understanding isn't a belief. Understanding is to be able to perceive the universal principles, patterns of reality, and to function through them to benefit. To see universal principles, to apply them universally so we can universally benefit. The functioning of the soul through the mind to know the self. So the pathologos is characterized by the word the, whereas our pathologos is characterized by the word a self, one of many. Our idea of philosophy is just a philosophy. It's not the philosophy. Nope, it's the, but we're told at school it's just one of many. And same with state of mind. So, because it's the ideal, it can be a shared ideal that both members of the relationship focus on to allow for love and logos development towards our ultimate goal. The model or paradigm of relationships, necessarily. Otherwise, the conflicts will happen. And even worse, you don't have conflict. You're from a similar enough background where you share a similar enough sick pathologos, and you spend your life further entrenching yourself in that ignorance. Disaster. Therefore, anyone who happens to care about being good, anyone who's in a relationship, anyone who is born into a family of any kind, which is every single person, their purpose necessarily, and also their moral responsibility, is to master the logos and pathologos through the art of the dialectic. Otherwise, their goal, their goal's down here. Apply, this is also Peter's principle. Peter's principle is this in the workplace. As you spend time in a job, you might get better, you might get better at a job, but eventually you get to a position where you can play out your problem. Or you get better at a job, you get a promotion. You get another promotion, you get another promotion, but now you suck at that job and you stay there. That's Peter's principle. We see it at a different level, the pathologos Peter's principle. Because, by the way, you wouldn't get a promotion if you suck at the job. So you're stuck in this job that you suck at. But the pathologos is people develop any subject or skill or occupation to the point where they have an opportunity to play out their pathologos, which is the motivating force in every single soul who is not engaged in midwifery and dream analysis. We look for a situation to play out our problems. Our problems are different. The extent of our problems are different. The nature of our problems are different. And our ability to participate in understanding is different as well. Therefore, someone like Donald Trump or anyone on the right wing, very quickly straight into their problem. Very little development of understanding or care, logos. Whereas someone like Bernie Sanders was able to get much further before his pathologos kicked in. Stopped fighting. Took up a bad position against supporting genocide of the Palestinian people. It's universal. Someone like AOC in American politics. While Trump maybe gets here and goes straight to his problem, it might take a certain level of power or time before AOC reaches her problem and falls into it. And maybe she can pull herself up, get back to do a bit more work, but as the principle shows, the greater the time, the skill or power within any subject, the greater the psychological expression of the pathologos of that particular art. It's necessary. So while we should be judging politicians the same way we judge high school athletes in terms of their logos, this guy's a very good three-point shooter. He's a very good passer. He's very agile. And they're pathologos, but he's not a good team player. He shows up late. Zion Williamson, he's too interested in the baddies. Meaning we know, injury prone, that Zion Williamson, from high school people were having this. Everyday people. You don't have to be super intelligent. Anyone can play. Because just think about all of the regular Joes who have this level of interest and seeing about athletes. We recognize, Zion Williamson has the potential to be great. But we know here he will get into the baddies. Here, the bad baddies. The ones that the Instagram people who distract him and whatever. He'll have a food problem here. He'll have an injury problem here. And it might start with like a little bit of an injury problem. And then as he recovers and he gets more confidence, then he has a food problem here. It goes lower and he recovers. And he makes it to the fourth year of the NBA. But then the baddies problem comes in and he goes right down here. We know this. Our job is to apply it also to anyone who wants a position of power over anyone else, especially politicians and clergy. The two professions that reject any logos. It's all just belief, bro. It's only pathologos for those professions. There isn't such a thing as a three-pointer for a politician or a ability to slam dunk for a clergy. It's just manipulation of pathologos. It's only ignorance because it's a fourth hypothesis group. There should never be any political party or religious group based on faith or belief. In principle, because that's pathologos. You have to demonstrate an understanding of your art and a desire to apply that understanding to benefit. That's what an art means. You don't have any doctors who just believe their way into medicine. Why the fuck do we believe our way into spirituality with religion or believe our way into ruling humanity or society with politics? You can't believe your way into being a doctor. You can't believe your way into being a computer scientist. You can't believe your computer fixed when it's broken. And also, you can't be a doctor if you want to hurt people. Why the fuck do we allow religious systems to exist, considering they want to hurt the people who oppose their beliefs? Same thing with the right wing. They're literally murdering people in the millions. We need to understand why, and it's simply this graph. Any subject, there is a mastery of the art, logos, the dialectic of it. Politics, the dialectic of the soul. Same thing with religion. Soul and society with politics. Soul and self with spirituality. There is its negative reflection. Religion, manipulating people's beliefs to get them to act against their development of the logos. Just believe me, bro. All religion. Kill those who we say, like Abraham was told to kill. Current politicians, they always lie. They're supposed to be telling the truth all the time. They hurt people. They're supposed to be caring for people. They're trying to scam people to support capitalism. They're supposed to be creating universal wealth equality. So for politicians and religion, there is almost no logos straight into their problem. This is a principle. The further you develop in some aspect, time, skill, power, ability, whatever, wealth, the more likely you are to fall into your pathologos expression of that art, and the further you move along, the greater that fall. That's the counterattack. The pathologos. Therefore, every single being has to be engaged in learning what it means to know the logos so they can apply it to their art. That's philosophy. And addressing their guaranteed, inevitable pathologos expression of their functioning, that's philosophical midwifery. The two, oh, and by the way, you can't do that unless you're getting guidance from your dreams. Therefore, philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and also telling the truth about it. No lying like politicians and religious authorities do on the daily. So sharing it. Giving the 1, 2, 3, 4 aspects of the art of dialectic. That's the moral obligation of every human being, and should be something you're naturally interested in doing if you want happy, fun, healthy relationships, or you want to do good, or you want to live a good life, or you want to live in a fantastic planet, or you want to make sure your reincarnations are upward and not downward. Definitionally, not an opinion. It's a principle. Now, given this, we can see the meaning of life is to reach this goal, which is a master dialectician. And I've run out of space on the board. Let me just move it over like this. Master dialectician. With our ideal state of mind. Of pure being, or the divine, and a knowing of the self, or the one self, we could say. There's our three-symbol triad. That's what we're after. And therefore, you can create what would be the pathologos expression of this. Which is, of course, a mastery, therefore, of the logos. Therefore, there's the ideal. So that's, if that's the ideal for everyone, it's the standard. Therefore, the word destiny means the ultimate purpose and goal of all mankind. The destiny of man, not your destiny or Frank's destiny or Timmy's destiny, the destiny of man, our ultimate purpose. It's universal, like the logo says, universal principles. The, not a. Therefore, that logos triad Alright, let's start with the triangle. That logo's oh goodness. L-O-G-O. That logo's triad, if it's the ideal, would be the shared focus or the top of the triangle of human relationships. There's you, there's your beloved, and there's the shared ideal. Pretty neat. Always true, always and forever. Therefore, what we are learning are universal principles we can take with us even after we die. Therefore, if there's any purpose to being or alive in time, considering we know that we're in the level time is in becoming, things are coming to be and decaying, we will die one day. This has to be the kind of learning we are here to do in principle. Also, it's the learning that necessarily benefits. And not just benefits, logos, but removes problems. So, meaning of life for everyone. Meaning, if there is a single ideal of the health and excellence and goal of all human beings, we can have a standard. So this is therefore the standard. The ideal or standard. The logos triad. And all other psychological types would fall as various kinds of distortions of the ideal. So if it's the self with the mind functioning through the understanding, we can say the kinds, we haven't had a drop in a while.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
I love this guy.
Thanks.
Wrong. You're
Wrong?
so wrong.
Oh
But
my
that's
goodness.
okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
Okay. Kinds of souls. Would you want Donald Trump to babysit your kids? Would you want him to? Definitely not. Would you want him to coach your football team? Definitely not. Why the fuck do we allow him to run for president? We need to understand there are different kinds of souls or psyches. States of mind. Do you want Shaq shooting three-pointers? Fuck no. Do you want Stephen Curry because he's a different type of NBA player? Absolutely. Do you want Stephen Curry to be playing center? No. Different type of person. So the different kinds of souls or psyches has the ideal, which is of course based on the logos, the triad of logos, which means all of the different kinds other than the ideal would be expressions of pathologos or states of being that function to block the logos in different kinds of ways. One and two blocks to the logos. Some people are blocked quicker. Some people are blocked in different ways. Some people say, I can't follow the logos because nothing exists. Nihilism, everything is just the matrix and it's all illusion or something like that. Some people block the logos because they say, there is no level of mind, we're all just physical chemicals squirting. Reductionism. Some say there is no logos because God, if there might be a logos, but we can't follow the logos because if there is a divine logos, then we would just be stupid ants. God wouldn't care about us. There is no way of us connecting to the divine. See? Completely different, but functioning in the same way, blocking the logos. Same thing with dreams. Some people say there is no meaning to dreams. Some people say they don't even have dreams. Of course you do. Some people say, oh, dreams are just a trick. Oh, there is meaning because obviously, those people who say that, dreams are meaningless are stupid because clearly you dream about things that are happening in your life and with characters from your past and you get wrapped up in it like a movie. So those guys are stupid, but dreams are not meaningful because it's just a trick played on you. It's to keep you asleep while your body fixes its physical problems. It's a very clever trick to stop you from sleepwalking or to keep you laying down for 8 hours. Some people would say, oh, those guys are crazy. Let me tell you why dreams have no meaning. Because it's not even that. It's not even an intelligent trick. It's just a random firing of neurons. And it just so happens to reflect the things happening in your life because those are the neuro pathways that have been solidified. So you're all wrong, but I'm right. But you're all the same because you're all rejecting the significance of dreams. Some might say, well, okay, clearly it knows a lot about us, but and it is some sort of master of drama, so it's better than any human film director because it functions so much, so often, and no one gets bored in their dreams. But it's not meaningful because we live in a world that's cruel. So even if as there is this great profound intelligence, it's not helping you, it's fucking with you, bro. That's another way of rejecting. See, all different ways to block the participation of the logos in the highest way, the dialectic applied to our dreams. Notice they would function as different amounts of blocks or levels of blocks. At least the people who think, well, there is an intelligence, it's just nothing to do with you, at least they accept the idea of intelligence. There are some people who think there is no intelligence. Everything is just physical stuff. And then you can ask them, well, do you think there's any value to that idea you just had that diminishes ideas? So you can catch them in a contradiction. But if it's a pathologos belief, it's not going to work because
cool as a cuke.
Personality maxing requires you.
Wait.
I'm always good.
Wait.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't
that
reason
they didn't reason
into.
themselves into. And there's another drop. Is it on the board yet?
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
In following the logos in this threesome of relationships. But I've got a new drop. Maybe it's not on the board yet.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
No, I mean, yes, but not. That's not what I'm after. Here we go.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid
They
positions.
stupid their way into stupid positions. So there is an art. So while we are looking for all of the different possible psychological types of man, so we can distinguish who should be playing three-pointers or who should be a politician, who should be a guru, who should be a economics person, who should be whatever, who's more suited to this or that, who should never have children until they've done a lot of work because they are going to abuse them through religion or any other sort of family clan belief. If we want to be a rational society that cares for our planet, our species, or all life, we also have to recognize that there are two expressions of the logos we have to address. Because of what we said about stupiding our way into stupid positions, I want to hear it again. Can't play it twice. I have to play us.
Be a reasonable gooner.
be a reasonable gooner and
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid
their way
positions.
into stupid positions. Why is that not on my board yet? Pause.
Can I do my plugs now?
No,
I'm trying to
no
do
no.
comedy career.
No plugs. It's not that time of the episode for plugs. Alright, we'll take away this one. We'll take away a second laughing. I don't use laughing one much. I need it on my board. I need it.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into positions.
People stupid their way in to stupid positions. Which is a recognition of we need to have ourselves the logos, the understanding, which would require the logos of souls, understanding the ideal of the logos and all of its diminished expressions of the pathologos. That's understanding. We need that. We need to be able to communicate it to others and say, oh, by the way, you think there's no meaning in life because nothing is anything? That's called nihilism. By the way, of all of the different kinds of souls or psyches or blocks to your own development, that's number 9. Which would indicate to the person, first of all, you can understand their position. You're not just talking nonsense. They can understand their position, that would mean. And they can understand their position as a part within a greater whole and a hierarchy of development, meaning it implies the potential for growth. Now, for some positions, understanding is enough to level up. But because of, as the Oracle says,
People don't logic their way into positions.
They stupid their way
they stupid their way into stupid positions. We also need a mastery of the pathologos in order to use the dialectic to communicate in a way that can free themselves up from their pathologos false idea of self, beauty or reality, and functioning that convinced them of this position. It wasn't a rational conclusion. It was based on the imitation of a parental figure appearing to be reality, appearing to be beautiful, appearing to be strong. So, for example, Donald Trump does KKK Nazi shit because his dad, when he was appearing his most confident and loud and abusive, was doing KKK Nazi shit. All of his problems. You can understand them. And if we did, oh, hang on a second. Should this guy raised by these KKK members be allowed power over others? Maybe he shouldn't even be on the ballot. Welcome, Sus. How's it going? Welcome.
Spit on me.
Oh my goodness. Calm down, Emma.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Because I'm cool.
You can be a gooner.
And you can be a gooner, so long as you're gooning on this channel. Find a Mrs. Phoenix yet.
Wrong. You're
Wrong.
so wrong.
So wrong.
But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes. Why do you ask? Aye, Captain.
Jesus is gonna come down and wipe this place out. Who cares?
It's very pessimistic.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
No. An answer to your question, Sus. But what we are seeing is what would be the standard for such a proper relationship. Because everyone seeks to enforce their pathologos model of beauty, love, strength onto their other person in their relationship, causing inevitable conflicts and fights, We've understood the nature of all our relationship conflicts today. We've also understood what's needed for an actual healthy relationship. A shared ideal that both people are working towards and can encourage each other in the development towards, following the logos together, sharing their insights, sharing their experiences, sharing their understanding, practicing the art. I ask because I'm annoying. Got to keep you on your toes. Oh no, that's fine.
Gooner bait.
I do Gooner bait.
Gooner bait.
Because
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
that's also a principle.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
And people who don't know I want to kiss a fox.
I think it's awesome.
And I think it's awesome.
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Oh my goodness. So that's where we are in the text. We want to ourselves understand all of the kinds of soul. We've used a lot of analogy. Like we want to make sure that the best 3-point shooter is playing point guard and the best center is playing center of your basketball team. We want to make sure we don't recruit the high school athletes who suck. But also we want to make sure that no one gets to be a priest, pastor, or any sort of person who claims spiritual authority over others unless they have reached the ideal. Equally so, politics, governance, because they have the most influence over society and the soul of other people, and they have the potential to do most harm, and currently they are the people doing the most harm in our world. Kings, clergy, and also the religion of money, CEOs. And because we have not recognized, got to give compliments and flattery when I can. Oh, you can compliment me all you want. It's a good thing to practice. I have decided.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
That's me.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
Oh my
That
goodness.
one's perfect and exact.
Jesus is gonna come down, wipe this place out. Who cares?
Calm down. Calm down. It's not that bad. Because, hey, what does religion and politics give people? Immediate power. They don't have to have any skill or time. Oh yeah, Jesus talks to me, so give me all your money. Politics. What do all the right wingers say? Oh, I've got a mandate to do anything I want. I have absolute immunity. So they get all the power straight away, which is why they immediately go into their pathologos. Almost immediately, religious authorities, billionaires, and politicians, the Epstein class, go straight into their problems. Because of this principle, this universal principle of graph. As we progress in skill, power, wealth, we could add wealth in there, I guess, in there, which is an expression of power, I suppose. Time. Wealth is an expression of power over people. Mastering my soundboard.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
And I'm sad for all the people who don't, because if you do master your soundboard, you will be
Cool as a cuke.
cool as a cuke. Religion and politics are men. Right, so we're just using them as an example for our own development. Anything we do, you want to be a good nurse. You want to be a good partner in a relationship. You want to know the nature of self. You want to be a good human being. You want to master the work you are here to do on planet Earth, so your reincarnation is on a higher level. You don't reincarnate back down to Hades, to a planet of ignorance and injustice. In each moment, you don't want to reincarnate into your pathologos. You want to ideally be your true self, know and show your true self. It's just that politics, religion, and wealth, billionaires, show this principle that applies to everything more clearly. It's just an analogy. Now, we can apply it to those things and create a better world. But we're looking at it as an analogy. So you get immediate. So billionaires, they got all the wealth. Politicians, they get all the power. So immediately, this principle, as you increase in time or skill or power in a particular art or skill, we don't really need wealth, that's kind of power. There is this psychological principle that you will express the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So everything you've been learning about how to govern people, what are all the politicians doing? Exactly the opposite. They're murdering people. They're kidnapping people. They're stealing children from primary schools. They're busting into, they got the stupidest, most ignorant, cruel, fascist KKK fuckheads invading people's houses, wearing masks with AK-47s, stealing children for God knows what, because there's no oversight. The exact opposite of everything within the logos of what it means to be a caring person, or what it means to govern the people. The absolute worst thing you can do about governing people is murder and torture them. That's exactly what they're doing. Fuck me. How do we get into that state? Because we have not seen this graph. We're not talking about this graph. We're not sharing it. So anyone who's come across it, please do an Instagram reel or a YouTube short about it. It's so important. Because those particular ones, straight into their problem. Straight into murdering children, doing genocide, kidnapping children from primary schools because they have the crime of being brown or having an accent. Calling human beings illegal, which is fucked. As we learn, we have to also, that's why we have to do dream analysis. Dreams talk about our development of learning from the text, true intelligence, true care, true purpose, and also how to surface and remove the cause of our own injustice in the world, to ourselves, to our loved ones, and expressed through anything that we do. So bringing it back to Suss's question, what would be the ideal relationship, given this also applies to relationships? The more time you have in a relationship, the more likely you're going to jump into your pathologos. And for everybody not in the game of true philosophy that we are in, their goal is down here. Everyone's goal in a relationship is to reach what they think is most beautiful and loving. Where did we learn what's most beautiful and loving? From our earliest teachers, our pathologos. Therefore, while we might have some problems and then recover, eventually it will end up right down here. Therefore, you can't have a loving relationship without the logos. Without practicing, learning, and mastering the art of the dialectic, it's just not possible. You'll keep having problems. That will get worse. Or, even worse than that, you won't recognize them as problems, you'll settle for that as a standard. You'll diminish your highest goals and accept whatever this is as your goal, and think you're happy. That's not a shame. That's fantastic. It's fantastic that all relationships end up this way, because there's no way of skirting your responsibility of developing excellence. You don't like relationships, to be honest. Of course, because this principle, all relationships end up in this way. As you, in time or love or power or logos, understanding of your partner, as that increases, so too is the psychological law that you will express everything you've learned about that person to play out your pathologos, because your pathologos motivates you. It's what it means to be human, which is a good thing. That means you can never have an ideal relationship without recognizing there is a meaning for your life. There is a purpose for your life. There is a skill and an art you are here to master. There is a standard of excellence you can achieve. So it's great that all relationships suck to different levels, have problems, because there's no way out of recognizing you can do better. And you must do better. In the chat. Always find nice guys and then they're like, oh shit, I'm emotionally unavailable. Well, even if you meet a nice guy, they'll be nice for a while, and then after enough time or understanding of your relationship, they will play out their problem. Because they don't have their problems, the problems have you. The pathologos keeps you stuck. Everyone, by nature of being a soul, seeks the self, seeks beauty in reality, and seeks some sort of functioning. Necessarily, it's what motivates life. The issue is, we have a false idea of the self, we have a false belief about beauty and reality, and we have a false idea about what a good relationship is from childhood. That's the pathologos. You get it from your parents, they got it from their parents, they got it from their parents, all the way back to the cave. So, by principle of being a living being, you are governed by your sickness. You are governed or motivated by opportunities or situations or relationships where you can, like debate, solidify your false image of yourself, play out the false idea of beauty, and function in a way that reflects your problem. Every single relationships by definition. Which is good because we can that means if it's universal, it's a principle. If it's an understandable universal principle, that means by definition, we can understand the nature of all relationships and all problems in relationships. And if we can understand it, we can solve it. Therefore, everyone is being sent a message through every relationship about what will most help them learn. You can't just say, well, I did my best and nothing came up to tell me that I can do better. Yes, it did all the time. Every single person is falling under this principle, the pathologos principle that we've got on the board on this graph. Meaning every relationship is understandable, every problem is fixable, so long as you tell the truth about this principle. Meaning, you have to understand what the pathologos is. You have to understand that it motivates all human beings and relationships, whether you like it or not, because you don't have it, it has you. It's a psychic parasite. And your job is therefore to not only master the pathologos, but master the logos to recognize that you live in a reality that wants your best. It's just causing you these problems and to give you an opportunity to go, why is there always the same problem? He's nice for a couple of weeks, he's a nice guy, but then he's a jerk. And then I dump him and then I end up with another guy who acts the same way. Or then I become the jerk sometimes. It's helping you, it's saying, I love you, I care for you. I'm your friend. Reality is your friend wanting the best for you. It cares for you so much, it won't tell you the answers. It just gives you movie after movie after movie, either when you're dreaming or in your relationships, to say, look, have you noticed a pattern yet? No? Okay, here's another one. Here's another dream. Have you noticed a pattern yet? No? Okay, here's another dream. Have you noticed a pattern yet? Nope, here's another relationship. Have you noticed a pattern yet? No, you're in the same relationship. Okay, here's another fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend. I care for you so much. I'm not going to give you the insight because then it wouldn't be yours. I'm going to give you the conditions for you to realize that every single problem and every single relationship is understandable if you understand this graph. It also means that your excellence is reachable and reality does not want you to settle. What kind of love and care would it be for you to say, oh, you know, just accept, just settle, just accept problems, just be less than your ideal self? Pretty crap. Therefore, all relationships have to separate ourselves from my pathologos that motivates my soul in relationships, my beloved's pathologos that motivates her soul in her relationships, and instead recognize that that's what it means to be human, and our job is to free ourselves from that, because in order to free ourselves from our pathologos, we have to learn the dialectic, which is our purpose, and instead focus both of our intentions and attention on a shared ideal. Every moment in your relationship can be looking for this graph. Any problem isn't ever a fight, it's an insight about your pathologos or your logos. Every high achievement can be shared, because if it's a high achievement, if your beloved is moving towards the logos, they can practice sharing their vision and testing their understanding by communicating it through the dialectic to you, which helps them nail down their higher way of being or their new insight, and helps you because you can learn from it. It's a win-win.
Win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win. Or as the Oracle says,
There's only two options at the end of an argument. One, you're wrong, but now you always get to be right about that topic going forward. So you got to learn something,
which is always a plus. Or two, you're right.
and you get to revel in being right. Win.
it's a win-win-win-win-win. Therefore, every relationship has to be a threesome. Otherwise, you will think you know what's the truth about reality, beauty, love, goodness, which will be your own pathologos ignorance that you will force onto them, and all of the tricks you've learnt growing up from your own parents, all of the manipulation techniques and bullshit, and they will do the same based on all of their tricks, manipulation bullshit that they learnt from their family and upbringing. Hey, how did Putin get to where he is? Look into his upbringing. Was it Stalin, who was raised in with nuns or something in a convent? And he just looked at all of the politics, all of the relationship techniques, all of the manipulation of others that the nuns and the priests used to push their own pathologos ignorance, and he just applied that to become a great genocidal dictator. Same thing with Putin, same thing with Netanyahu, same thing with Trump. Always the same. Same thing with every relationship. The only difference is those people, according to this graph, have more power. Therefore, they are more inclined and more quickly going to go into their pathologos. So as you play out your relationships with your partner, so too Putin plays out his relationships with the Russian people and the planet. Only quicker and in greater depth. Because the greater the logos, the greater the expression of the pathologos. The counterattack. Which is what we have to learn we have to be aware of as we read. Let's check in with chat. I'm emotionally dumb and unavailable, sorry. I'm a terrible person. LOL, sorry. You fell hard for me, but you're probably emotionally unavailable too. That's a quote. Did somebody say that to you? Yeah, if they said that to you, they are setting you up for their pathologos. That's a manipulative technique. So there are techniques or roles involved in enforcing or playing out or manipulating through your pathologos. Right? Those salesmen who give you compliments, or they threaten you, or they do all these sorts of tricks. Marketing, it's a horrible shame that it's taught at university. It really highlights how sick we are as a culture, that manipulation or marketing is something taught. There you go. But also, he's telling you about the nature of his pathologos. So there is I want you to, so I'm numb and unavailable. So yeah, given time or power in the relationship, he will ignore you. or he won't share his insights and understanding of his development. And he will play this victim game, or sorry, you're probably emotionally unavailable too. He will make you doubt yourself. He's undermining yourself. He's fucking with you so that he can have power over you in the relationship. Notice, this is power over others, and the true model of all relationships is power with. The greater you master the dialectic and you practice, it's a practice, you practice this ideal form of relationship, the greater you can have power with yourself, your beloved, and with all developing beings. This is where we are in the fourth hypothesis. Tyrants seeking power over others, be they cops shooting people in the street or ICE shooting people in the street, military people genociding people, threatening starvation from the CEOs if you don't obey them, politicians setting up concentration camps. It's all the same. It's all this. Power over. Because of this graph. As we increase our ability or time within the logos of an art, so too is the psychological rule, so too is the likelihood and the extent of the pathologos, inverse reflection of the same thing. You will do the exact opposite of what you're supposed to be doing as a politician, as a clergy person, as a relationship, as a partner, as a teacher. Isn't that interesting? It's not just you will be bad. The more power or skill or time within an art, the more likely you are to be a dick. No, you're a certain kind of dick.
Calm your fucking tits.
So you gotta calm your tits.
I think it's awesome.
It's not that awesome.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
But the bullshit Kant would say will be a specific kind of bullshit about philosophy, or what he thinks. Philodoxia, love of opinions. Kant's an opinion lover. Modern philosophers are. So, important principle, always true, something we can take with us wherever we go. And because of that, we can jump back into the book, because Socrates says, hey, by the way, considering, because of this, there is a single ideal of the self, the mind, and the understanding or dialectic. We can recognize all of the different kinds of people or states of soul or levels of psyche based on this, based on the ideal, the threesome of the logos, and all of the other kinds of blocks to the logos or expressions of the pathologos. Just as a doctor can have the single ideal of the healthy body and recognize all of the different kinds of illnesses. That's cancer, that's tuberculosis, that's you're missing an arm, that's your ear is falling off because you're a painter.
Calm your fucking tits.
No, that wasn't very good.
I'm too pure.
That's where we are. Can we gain a map of all of the different kinds of psyche based on... Now, we've got a few different ways of doing it. We've got the hypotheses of Parmenides. So we've got the first let's zoom in a bit. We've got the first hypothesis, the one self, which seems to be the ideal in the hypotheses from Parmenides. We have and therefore a hierarchy of development leading up to that ideal. Hey, those who reach the brilliant light of being, enlightenment for the Taoists, they think it's the end, the TNC, the yin yang symbol people. That's the second hypothesis. So this is the self that transcends existence, but if self exists or is, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth is, hey, there isn't. Self doesn't even exist. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Ninth, of course, is nihilism, the worst. So we have this as a map of different psyches. We have, of course, the ox-herding pictures. People in stage 1 and 2 who are in their ignorance. And then 3 having a glimpse. 4 facing the dip, facing the counterattack, facing the ox trying to pull you back into your old patterns that you've been stuck in your whole life up until now. Or catching the ox, taming the ox. You're starting to have some success in moving from the pathologos into the logos more frequently. 6th, riding the ox. You can share your insights and understanding in a way that benefits others. You've got a certain level of mastery of the dialectic, riding the ox. And not, when we say riding the ox, we don't mean
I'm eating the testicles of this bull.
No, don't eat the testicles of this bull. That's what Joe Rogan would say.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
He doesn't want to eat a monkey because he wants to eat bull testicles.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
Calm down. Eating raw bull testicles is not what it means to follow the bull herding pictures or the ox herding pictures. I didn't mean to eat their testicles.
Ah, fuck.
That's okay. You can be wrong sometimes.
I'm just asking for some Gunnar Menskin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Right, this isn't Opie and Anthony, although that wasn't Emma.
He's so far up his own ass.
Yeah, it was a bit harsh. It wasn't even you, Emma.
Absolutely gooped.
Gooped. You know what they say about being gooped?
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We are gooped. So, hey, having success in the 6th ox-herding picture. 7, maybe purifying yourself from your false image of yourself. 8, having the experience of mind itself. 2nd hypothesis, divine luminosity. And the 9th ox-herding picture, returning to the source. Now, we haven't got into the 10th yet. We're not there yet. We're keeping that open for a little bit longer. So we can use those 2 maps to recognize different types of people, where they're at in level based on their development. Based on their development in the ox-herding picture, or based on their way of thinking in the hypotheses. So the hypothesis is a pure logos. Whereas the ox-herding picture is more about ousia, or states of mind, what it feels like. Logos and ousia, that's the 2. Self-reflection and language, understanding. But there's another way that Socrates is saying we can create a map of the different kinds of souls based on how they respond to the logos. Based on how they're blocked to the logos. So while the hypothesis is about the logos, and the ox herding picture is about how it feels, or the ousia based on that logos, you could equally make a map of the pathologos. How are you blocked from the logos? That would also indicate the level of development. And we have mentioned that a little bit earlier. We mentioned that each of the ox herding pictures finish with an anticipation of the next stage. For example, third ox herding picture, you've had a glimpse of the ox. You've had a non-physical experience or insight in some kind of a way that opens you up to there being a source of reality, either mind or self, beyond just your physical senses. Great. But it finishes with the line, what kind of artist would be able to portray such stately horns and a mighty head? Let me get the quote right. Let's bring it up. There you go. That splendid head, those stately horns. What artist could portray them? Last line right there. So we said, hey, that could be a anticipation of the next stage, opening you up to a new kind of ousia or self-reflection. Curiosity, wonder. Or it could be an expression of a block. What kind of artist could portray that? In other words, no artist could portray that. No one could understand. It was too beautiful and brilliant. Surely if somebody understood what I had, then everyone would be talking about it on the news. Or my daddy would know. Or we wouldn't have religion anymore. Is that right? I mean, whoever wrote this knows it. Just because other people are ignorant doesn't mean everyone is. So, one is a logos or one is a pathologos. One is a block, one is an openness. So we have talked about that earlier. Which means Socrates is saying, hey, by the way, all of the ways people respond to truth negatively, or our class of interpreters, so far we have 9, the 9 different ways people are responding to a new truth. Rejecting the new truth and just staying stuck in the old. Pretending, but actually staying stuck in the old. Taking a piece of the new, but mainly most of the old. Etc., etc. Appearing loyal to the old while actually creating an alternative reading of the old. Trying to both sides it. Hey, maybe the old and new can come together in some sort of synthesis. Or Sneesius, inwardly following the new, but outwardly telling others to do the old, or manipulating others through the old because he was a philosopher doing dream analysis internally, but outside he was a bishop. So all of these different ways, all different kinds of pathologos expressions. Now, that's interesting because that would be the pathologos hypotheses, maybe. But we said, hang on a second, we don't just have the hypotheses of Parmenides giving a logos of each of the stages. We also have the ox herding pictures to say what it feels like. What it feels like as we move between those stages. So, therefore, one of the puzzles of this book is to look at all of those different interpreters of the truth to create a purely logos model of the pathologos blocks to just simply following the logos. But also we could do our own negative ox herding pictures, or chicken herding pictures, or ox eating pictures.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
To talk about what it feels like to move through those levels of interpretations, to be violently and violently, savagely loyal to the old. What it's like to actually be more open to at least pretending to be interested in the new, like Paul, but lying about it. Taking a little piece of the old, of the new. And this is interesting because that's part of what Socrates has been doing with Jesus all the way through. All the way through this book, he's been saying, hey, by the way, let's say you grew up Christian. For a lot of people, it's very hard for them to just give up their whole way of being and everything that they've believed from childhood. But if you're clever, if you're smart, you will recognize that the different gospels are different people's points of view. And they all copy Mark. So why don't you just get into Mark? By the way, if you actually read Mark for yourself, you can see there's a stage of development leading to an experience of divine luminosity. And everything leading up to it is about understanding, not belief. And everything in his fall, like we see in the board, even Jesus, if it's a universal principle, it applies universally. When Jesus had his divine luminosity experience, did he go through a fall? And by the way, if you have integrity in how you read, you can see that in the decently translated Bibles, they all have a little asterisk at the bottom of towards the end of Mark saying everything after the crucifixion was added 200 years later by the church, meaning there's no resurrection, meaning what we have seen about all human relationships also applies to Jesus. That he has time or skill or power of the Logos through understanding based on his learning from the Hellenic philosophers that he was exposed to at the beginning of his life, leading to an enlightenment experience. And then because of this psychological pathologos principle, he fell into his counterattack. But also, like we said, anyone who's not doing midwifery and dream analysis won't recover ultimately. So their goal would be the inevitable failure or disaster that is the completely predictable, inevitable conclusion of the childhood religious beliefs you grew up with. Jesus claiming to be king of the Jews, etc. Or not speaking up and saying, I don't think I'm king of the Jews, and instead following the religious prophecies of Elijah and all that sort of stuff that he did, leading to his crucifixion. Meaning, even for Jesus, there is that development of the Logos or understanding, having an insight, the counterattack or the dip, and then because he didn't get back into understanding and he stayed in belief, it ended in his failure, his goal as a failure. So, if you read Mark and follow along with this channel, there is a way of slowly moving out of your old beliefs into the new truth and understanding. Meaning, you could map what it feels like to go through that in ox-herding pictures, based on the pathologos, the purification of the pathologos, as the regular ox-herding pictures is a development through the logos. Do both. Hey, you start to realize that there's an intelligibility of Mark, and then you come across and realize, hang on a second, all of the Gnostic Gospels found in Egypt in the 60s. There's the Gospel of Jimmy, something or other, Joseph. Jesus is a twin brother. The Gospel of Jimmy James, Gospel of James. The Gnostic Gospel of John. All of them talk about the same thing. Understanding as the method, not faith or belief. That's all Paul's bullshit. And the state of mind of kingdom of heaven being a state of mind, not literal. That would be stupid. Like there's literally heaven in the sky that you magic up to. Go one step further. Still in the Christian tradition, Dionysius used all of the pathologos beliefs and hierarchies of oppression of Christianity and said, by the way, you can look at it analogically to create this map of the logos to understand the logos, the soul, and the self. So from Mark to the Gnostics to Dionysius. Then Ficini recognized that his pathologo, he's tricked, but he added more to Dionysius. In fact, it was Dionysius's logos that made him think, well, maybe there's some legitimacy in religion. Now, that's not true because he was tricked, but there you go. So, as someone in Christianity goes through those stages of learning to think for themselves and not believe, learning to read and not interpret, learning to distinguish that each different person is at their own different level of logos and pathologos, it's fucking stupid to think that Mark is the same as John, is the same as Paul, is the same as... Of course fucking not. What are you, insane? But as they go through that, a kind of diminishment of their pathologos blocks to the logos, they will become more free, they will become open to higher states of mind or experiences. We can talk about what it takes for them, just as Socrates talked about what it took for him to escape his religious pathologos beliefs that heaven and hell, it's just a battleground between good and evil. Everything is meaningless and stupid. There's no change, there's no learning, there's no solving problems, because that battle between good and evil is eternal and going on within your own soul, which would also mean going on in your relationships. You and your beloved always fighting because that's it. He talked about what it was felt like for him to experience a musician sharing an intelligibility of the logos through music, and then meeting a beautiful woman, beautiful young woman, talking about understanding the self, and then getting into these other books that we read here, and then actually meeting Parmenides and learning the dialectic, which he could then apply to his dreams. Each of those stages of development we could map as within a model of all spiritual development. Hey, how many people are in our stream? Maybe I get half a dozen to a dozen people who watch the vlog. Maybe if I'm lucky, another 2 or 3 who watch the YouTube when I post it after on there. But hey, how many people watch maybe streams that are about understanding, but because there's a beautiful woman talking about it, who we could call
Be a reasonable gooner.
a reasonable gooner, a rational making the most of people's attraction to physical beauty to talk about understanding and reason.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Yeah. Right?
I think it's so awesome.
And like Aaron Brown, comedy. Is comedy intelligible? Especially his? Right wing isn't comedy, it's just being cruel and smug. No one likes that, or only the stupidest people like that. That's not comedy. But hey, he gets what, 50,000 views on his videos? Maybe more? And what does he do? Shares the significance of understanding, self-reflection, reflecting on what's most significant, understanding it, understanding the causes, and communicating that in a way where others can participate and have fun. Music. How many people like music? And then of the people who have been interested in this stream where we actually read, how many people are actually applying the dialectic in their lives and to their dreams? So even fewer, I would imagine. So it's a principle. But what we are saying is, can we apply that principle to freeing ourselves? So while that's Socrates talking about his movement through the ox herding pictures, discovering the ox, etc., discovering the logos, the inherent intelligibility behind music, leading to understanding, leading to reading, leading to the dialectic itself, so too can we do the ox testicle herding pictures, where instead of seeking the ox, we try and eat the testicles of the ox because we are blocked.
You sick fuck.
Yeah, that's a bit sick.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw. Raw
Oh my goodness.
bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
Oh my goodness.
Fuck.
That's where we are. Socrates has given us a possible way of understanding the different types of people based on the pathologos. We infer the other question because he said, hey, by the way, for the logos, the hypotheses, there is for the logos, there is how it feels, or the ousia, the ox-herding pictures, which would mean if we could create the hypotheses based on these categories of blocks to the logos, we could create our own ox-herding pictures, giving us the logos and ousia of the logos and the logos and ousia of the ox-herding pictures to understand, recognize the different stages of development and the different kinds of souls. That's where we are. So that's our new quest. And let's pull up the text. Da-da-da-da. Here we go. So, the new philosophers would be those who are climbing those ox-herding pictures, hypotheses, and purifying the ox testicle pictures and moving through the interpretations to the ideal. That ideal would be the new philosophers. He's saying, I'm going to wait until I learn more before I say who these new philosophers are. He would suggest people who are seeking that shared ideal of excellence, the threesome of the soul, threesome of self. So, consider, Socrates says, what we have been saying about these interpreters of ours, those 9 we have on that list. Notice that they bring forth even interpreters of interpreters. Right? Synesius is interpreting Dionysius, and Dionysius is interpreting Paul, and Paul is interpreting Jesus. None of them are doing what we did, developing your own understanding and seeing for yourself, and verifying it through direct experience. They comment on what we have said and write their commentaries. Shall we conclude that we have not brought into existence those like ourselves, but only interpreters? Says Socrates to Jesus. So, it's obvious that in both of our ways of being express our practice as a way of life, meaning justice. It's a way of being. Wisdom, to recognize and understand that state of being. Courage, to keep going even though your pathologos doubts might get in the way. And temperance, keeping your cool during that process of these ups and downs, which are inevitable and a principle. Have we been amiss in not stressing this obvious truth? Philosophy is currently in the hands of scholars, not philosophers. People who teach you philosophy at university are not teaching you philosophy. They are interesting as those commentaries might be, they are a far cry from participating in living dialogues that explore truth and reality. It's a way of being. It's a way of relating to your dreams, to your partner, to your friends, to people who are open and interested in understanding things, and we all are ultimately. But again, we have to find a way of navigating not only the logos as we move up, but the pathologos dips that occur in those conversations. Look at those who presently are called philosophers, and you can see very quickly that they are not lovers of wisdom, which is that clear and brilliant light of being, the second hypothesis. but also the virtue of wisdom, the knowledge of it, so you can recognize what it's like to function in a just way at all times. They are instead philodoxias. They love opinion, Kant's opinions and Hegel's opinions and Nietzsche's opinions to justify their own opinions. That's all they do. Garbage. Garbage in, garbage out.
You sick fuck.
Right. And remember what Kant would say? If you do philosophy as an academic, you will find
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
because...
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Exactly. Now, the official name or the technical name for the bullshit that Kant would say is doxia, philodoxia, love of opinions. But he has heard that there is a breed of curious seekers. Could that be? You? Could that be you? Wait. Could that be you? Oh. Could you be that curious breed of seekers? They're not only exploring dreams and contemplation, but they even write new dialogues taking off in a direction akin to ours, yet different in an interesting way. Wow! 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 What did we just say? You said there might be a map of people like Socrates getting interested in maybe something funny, like Mr. Aaron Brown.
Gooners.
Gooners?
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Right. A pair of gooners. Talking their gooning nonsense. Or music that might make them curious about understanding, that might lead them to some sort of beautiful woman like Socrates met, who is talking about things that reflect understanding, to appeal to said gooners.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Right?
Hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
Right? People like Emma, who's gooning so much.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Right? We want to be a reasonable gooner, talking about reason. But then, hey, being curious about that understanding that makes this person so beautiful, maybe you get into sort of reading of these Logos texts that we have, the Balboa translation of Plato, and the Pierre Grimes books that we read, because they reflect the Logos. And the next stage is the dialectic, nailing it down for yourself and using it as a way of life, as you're in your relationships, love and Logos, as we just said, but ultimately in your dreams. Dreams, to unpack the meaning of your dreams, but also sharing it, which is the text that you write. What does Socrates say? These new seekers are those who are all the way around here, who are looking at their dreams and are looking to write their own texts too. So someone who has gone through and stayed in the game, even in the dips, because of that graph we've seen today, all the way to this stage. And today we've been talking about what kind of books we might write. Maybe we'll keep this on the board even though it's a bit messy. I'll make it yellow. Over there. Oops. Whee. Move it over here. We talked about, well, so far we've been talking about writing as you discover how to apply this dialectic to unpacking your dreams, you could do your own handbook of how to dialectic dreams. I've also said, just as there is a hypotheses of the Logos and the oxiding pictures of what it feels like to go through those hypotheses, so too could we use these class of interpreters to do the hypotheses of the pathologos and do our own ox testicle eating pictures to talk about how people stop eating bull testicles.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Stop eating a monkey and stop eating bull
You
testicles.
sick fuck.
You sick fuck.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
I love this guy.
Right? So we just talked about that, and then we read some more, and here is Socrates saying, hey, these new people, true philosophers, or new philosophers, are they new philosophers? New philosophers, not only exploring dreams and contemplation. So what's that? That's recognizing that using the dialectic to explore the ideas in the text we've been reading is contemplation, or the archetype of meditation. Focused attention on an idea that exists in being, open and curious, while also using our highest understanding, making it the ideal contemplation. But they even write new dialogues.
Wow. Wow.
As we just mentioned, taking off in a direction akin to ours, but different in an interesting way. As the hypotheses and oxiding pictures are to the logos, so too our text could be to the pathologos. Or, as Socrates and Jesus are expressing the learning about the logos, so too, as the text suggests, we could do the sequel, Socrates and the Buddha exploring the oxiding pictures. Or, just as Pierre Grimes wrote the Handbook for Philosophical Midwifery, as Parmenides, or the how to remove the pathologos, so too could we do the Handbook for Dream Analysis. So lots of possible things we could do to contribute to humanity and the true quest of man and philosophy. They have reviewed Homer's midwifery and developed a method to accompany it. So yes, I am curious about calling them a name because it is not clear at least just where they are really going. Well, it's up to us. Let's do our best. Right?
They're secretly turned on by it.
Well, if you're secretly turned on by it, you might be a gooner.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that. Cool.
But we're cool. We are the coolest of all of the streamers. Channels. So, that suggests another member of the class of interpreters. They are members that continue the Platonic tradition, as we just said, also adding significant elements to it, and those who live their life in conformity with that philosophy, unlike Sneesius, and become exemplars. If that's the case, they may not be interpreters at all, says Socrates to Jesus, but exponents of a living tradition. Which goes back to what we were saying, there being a single shared ideal of relationships and also a single shared ideal of ways of being. Just like a doctor has a single ideal of a healthy body, a mechanic for how an engine should work, etc. So, what we just said about what we can potentially do, practice our dialectic, live our dialectic, look for how it feels like, that state of justice, use our learning from this text, wisdom, to label, name, understand, name those states of being to nail down or preserve that state of justice, apply the dialectic to our dreams, our relationships, our way of being, and also whatever we create. That seems to be, therefore, Socrates giving us a definition of what it means to be an ideal human. Not in the class of interpreters. Did I mention this book's a banger? Did I?
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
Show who some respect.
They're secretly turned on by it.
Emma?
You're a little bitch ass baby.
Oh my goodness. So, If that's the ideal, that raises a question. Will we consider the divisions we have made of interpreters similar to the psychological types of man? For in reviewing our divisions of interpreters, have we not identified certain attitudes, states of mind, that block a more full participation in the spiritual life? Block the logos. There may be different ways of describing psychological types. We talked about the oxiding pictures and the hypotheses. But with our work, we know that these divisions mark the degree that one can enter into the spiritual journey. So, anything below the third hypothesis of Parmenides, you're blocked. The pathologos is a belief, fourth hypothesis. It's difficult to make transitions, which is why you need to look for a philosopher or a dialectician, or pay attention to your dreams. Equally so, right, so your hypotheses mark the degree you're entering into the logos or the spiritual journey. So to the oxiding picture is about following the logos, seeking mind, transcending the method, whip and rope of taming and riding mind to reaching the source beyond the ox. It's levels of participating in the logos to self. Therefore, if we have recognized a super important principle that we all have to be aware of and tell all of your friends, make movies about it and Instagram clips about this very graph, whoops. This principle, as we increase in whatever logos or skill that we're doing, so too do we increase the likelihood of our pathologos fall into the exact opposite or negative application of that skill or logos. That's a psychological principle, meaning whatever you are learning, you better recognize how that very learning can be used in its opposite way to harm, because this is what it means to be human. So while we can recognize the oxiding pictures and the hypotheses as a level of participating in the spiritual journey or logos, so too we can talk about this and our freedom from the dip as our ability to participate in the logos as well. Because the only thing that blocks our participation in the logos is our pathologos. And we can see the extent to which it functions, and the nature of that functioning, and how soon it comes up in those class of interpreters. Meaning, hypotheses and oxiding picture of the pathologos is a potential that we could write, make it fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the childlike wonder?
Get a beautiful woman to talk about it so they can be so we can get all the gooners. Where's my gooner drop?
Be a reasonable gooner. You
Be a
can be a
reasonable
gooner.
Because everybody loves sluts.
Should love sluts. I love sluts.
You can find funny people to talk about it, and that can get people on board
Jesus
too.
Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
And Emma as well.
The more holes, the better.
It's a guy whose head appears to be on backwards, and then half lady.
I don't see the relevance of that drop. I might remove half lady drop. It was just funny to me.
Absolutely sent to heaven where she's seated at the right hand of the Father.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Unbelievable.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
So we can add those texts to the book, and that's what Socrates is waiting for. Let's see how well they go. Before we call them a new class of man or the new philosophers, let's see how well they go in living the dialectic, their relationships defined by the dialectic, love and logos, their dreams understood through the dialectic, and can they even write their own books using the dialectic to talk about the different classes of people and our spiritual journey through those classes, either following the logos or freeing ourselves from the pathologos and its blocks to the logos through interpretation. Wow!
Wow. 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 Wow.
So, he's really laying it out for us. He's laying out the path that we can follow. And it's fun. And we have wacky sound drops.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Okay, that one wasn't wacky. And that's already on my soundboard, so I can get it off the randomizer.
It makes sense.
And we make sense because
My
my
head is quite large and filled with secrets.
now our heads are quite large and filled with secrets. Right,
They're
Emma?
secretly turned on by it.
Secretly turned on by it. All right, that's enough. So we can do it. We can try it. Find a good souls out there who you can play the game with. Join the Discord if you want. And if you want to contribute to the channel, that is a huge help. And there is a link to donate below. Text link below. And yeah, good luck in becoming one of those new kinds of seekers, the new class of man, the new true kind of philosopher, not a philodoxia. Recognize the difference. Hope you have fun. Carrying your question is to be on a quest, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.